Parents of Reddit, have you ever caught your child watching porn? And if so, did they know you caught them? How did it play out? Oh god. So my mom asked for the laptop because we were about to order something from Amazon. It was my younger brother's laptop. So me, mom, and him were there at the table and she types A for Amazon, but the first result was amazing college big asses. Girls never laughed so hard in my life. Mom wasn't surprised though. Knock next time. You know, I got a computer in here. You know, you're really playing with fire when you burst in here like that, man. My dad dealt with catching me rather well. The first time I wanked after porn, I used my dad's work laptop when he wasn't home for the night. I was so young and inexperienced at the time that I thought the only way to do doggy style, which was my favorite to watch, was to have an L6. So after countless an L6 videos later, the work laptop finally locked me out for suspicious activity before I could delete any evidence or browser history. Panicked and terrified, I put the laptop back in its place and pretended like nothing was wrong. The next day my dad had to go to his work only to figure out that his computer was locked out due to an excessive amount of anal porn videos. He came home that day with a red face and a Victoria's Secret magazine and told me to stick with the old-fashioned way like he used to do it. No yelling, no anger, just a simple sex talk and a lingerie magazine. I couldn't imagine the embarrassment when trying to get his computer unlocked at work. Not my own children, but my friend and his girlfriend asked me to block all internet access on their two sons' tablets. They're both 7. I followed the history, and it started innocently enough with pictures of girls. The next search was pictures of naked girls. It was all videos starring big, black cocks from there on out. One of them was trying to get to the same website the next day at school, but it was restricted. The other boy admitted that he had been using his grandmother's Kindle to access similar videos. The whole situation was very disturbing to the parents, but I couldn't get over the thought of grandpa finding big, black cocks on grandma's Kindle. That made me laugh at a time that was absolutely not appropriate. He didn't know. I came home early from work one day, and coming through the garage, I see him at the computer in the family room, naked as can be and his arm flailing and somewhat appeared to be a typical porn on the screen with headphones on. My brain presented the Terminator menu options of the right thing to say, but I opted for nothing. I snuck back out, sat in my truck and played on my phone. He shares a bedroom with his brothers. We have one bathroom. I understand his predicament. He has small windows of time to take care of business. I think I earned some dad points on that one. If I ever told my wife that story, she'd have a heart attack. She knows he does it, but doesn't want to think about it. My dad was installing something on my computer about 7-8 years ago, and when he went to type in the search bar, intayfoundry.com was the first thing to pop up. He saw the look of concern on my face, clicked it to find out what it was, and upon seeing a splash image of a cartoon woman holding her tits, he said, "You better be on your best behavior or I'm telling your mother." Probably one of the most awkward moments of my teenage years. Obligatory not a parent, but elder step-sibling. My mother and her ex-husband once found a whole bunch of links to porn sites in the browser history, specifically Pokemon porn videos, like May or Misty, engaging in Pokemon bestiality. I specifically remember a Wobbuffet being mentioned. We ended up with a whole bunch of it wrong with our computer, which is how they ended up finding out. Cue my stepfather, screaming, "Why can't you even ducking look at regular girls?" At my stepbrother. Pokeporn became a running gag in the long run though. My parents found out about me watching porn. It was actually my duckhead younger brother who left the search history a mess, but they thought he was too young at the time, and I was watching porn anyway, so I figured I had just screwed up. Anyway, they flipped their it. I was grounded for months. They put a strict parental lock on the computer, couldn't even use the internet after 7 PM. I wasn't even allowed to leave my room. My father demanded that I read my Bible every day. It was bad. I'm not a parent, but when I was maybe 11 or 12, I tried to print some pictures from a website on our home printer. For some reason nothing would print no matter how many times I tried. Being young and dumb, I didn't bother to troubleshoot but just closed the browser and figured it wasn't going to happen. Weeks later, I hear my mom screaming at me from upstairs as like a dozen nude pictures spit out of the printer. She wasn't very tech savvy and we were new to having a computer, so she must have mistakenly unpaused the print queue. Because we had one of the 3-in-1 printers, I was able to talk my way out of it by saying somebody must have faxed it to us by mistake. My mum caught me. She just shook her head and closed the door. She then told me the next day to maybe try and do it in the shower in the future as it's less messy. My mom found a bunch of pictures of Betty Boop on my brother's computer, so naturally she assumed it was sexual, because with all the millions of porn sites out there, of course he would choose to jerk off to cartoon characters from the 1930s. She called my brother into the room and proceeded to give him a very awkward lecture about the importance of healthy sexuality and making sure you didn't become too focused on fantasies. Finally, he interrupted her to ask what she was talking about. She said, "I found your stash of Betty Boop pictures." He laughed and said, "I'm learning how to draw cartoons. She's easy to draw." Mom said, "Oh, that makes sense. How about I promise to let you borrow the car whenever you want, if you promise to never bring this up again? Deal?" Get the duck out of my room, Mom, I'm playing Minecraft. Apparently my mother found porn in the history and immediately goes to my father in a panic thinking it was him. My father then goes to my brother and asks him about it. My brother was cool and took the blame and later taught me about history and cookies. I was 9 and there has been parental controls on the computer ever since. I'm sure my teenage son has definitely not learned about porn yet. I have no worries. My mom's boyfriend was always snooping in my room, so he eventually found a bunch of hentai pictures I had printed like 2 years prior to the incident. No confrontation. He just yelled at my mom about how sick and disgusting I was. He was such a ducking asshole, lol. One weekend my parents went rifling through my room while I was away. Don't remember where I went, but they had the entire weekend to search my room. I was probably 14. I had my stash of porn pictures hidden on the top shelf of my closet underneath a box. I thought it was the best hiding spot ever. There was pictures of feet, girls with cum on their face, up close V shots. I was 14 so my porn game wasn't advanced yet. Anyways, apparently my mother found them and freaked out at what kind of porn I was looking at. She threw them all into a garbage bag along with all the other trash they had found. My dad salvaged my porn treasures from the garbage and put them back where she had found them. I get home. My dad just says, "Mom found your pictures in your closet. You should find a better hiding spot." You call that porn? Itch, move aside, lem show you some reel it. I have caught my son watching porn once where I left work early and he was on headphones. Don't think he knew, but now that I'm an adult, it's really easy for parents to know what you're doing. But that doesn't mean you stop beating your meat, kids. I actually caught my dad looking at porn. He is not very tech savvy, so he didn't have a computer then, so he was using mine in my room. I guess he didn't hear me come home, and when I opened my door he just stood up to block the screen and then he manually pressed the power button to shut the computer off. He wasn't whacking it or anything. Not a parent, but on the night before my 16th birthday I was staying up late to see my AP score right when it was released at 5 in the morning. At about 3 I decided to rub one out, and after the deed was done I fell asleep. My mom found me in the morning, on my birthday, with porn open on my TV screen. Parental locks on everything after that. Was forced to get creative from then on. I have no idea how old I was, but I'm willing to bet maybe around 4th or 5th grade because I was obsessed with Leonardo DiCaprio. This was back before computers and the internet were huge. I was on dial-up and home alone. I tried to search the internet for pictures of Leo. I decided to go to or something similar. It was a gay porn site and it instantly froze my computer. I didn't know it about computers at the time and was too ducking stupid to just turn IT off. So instead I freaked out and wrestled with what to tell my mom. I thought I broke the whole ducking thing. Mom eventually comes into the room and I'm like, "I'm sorry," just crying and it. I don't remember her exact reaction, but later that night she took me for a drive where she had sex talk with me and then took me to McDonald's. Caught my 11-year-old behaving suspiciously under the blankets and closing his browser screen when I went in his room once. Checked his history, and he was watching a let's play about a game where you take a bath with an anime girl and can beat her up. I gave him a 1967 Playboy to try and steer him towards real women. So have I got a story. At my house around Christmas we usually have a bunch of people over. Family friends from all over come and spend a few days. So one day my mom was up early and went on the computer where she found porn up on Google. Now I was about 14ish at that time with my brother being 12. My friends who were here were 12, 17, and 20, so it could have been any of us. So my mom asked and none of us said it was us, but my brother and I were the obvious suspects. So after a few days the heat died down and nothing became of it. 5 years later when I was 19, about a year ago, I was on my dad's phone to Google something as my phone was dead, and I found how he was googling porn, but just left it up on Google and didn't close it, so anyone would see it if they opened his phone. Then it hit me that it was him that fateful night, as any of us kids wouldn't have been stupid enough to leave it open. That's when I called the 20-year-old friend at the time and told him, as he thought it was me. We had a good laugh that the mystery was finally over. TLDR. Mom finds porn on computer during holiday party. Thinks it's me or brother. 5 years later we find out it was my dad. Never got caught in the act, but I am quite sure I saw a playlist containing some of the videos I watched when my dad left his computer unlocked and I happened to notice in the early 2000s. That was sort of weird. My mom once remarked that it's funny how your room is a pigsty but your women are sort out neatly. This was back in the early 90s when PCs and such weren't that common, so whenever I had the time I downloaded pics. Videos were rare then, and printed them out and kept them in neat little folders I hid in a bottom drawer. My mom obviously found them. I was obsessed with Titanic and The Notebook, so I would look up the kissing scenes on YouTube and it eventually progressed to me googling Six. For the longest time, I would just watch porn out of curiosity. I didn't have any urges acted upon them. I was just genuinely interested in Six, and would just click on video after video. I didn't know about clearing the search history, but this was my family computer, so my parents definitely saw their 9-year-old daughter had been watching hardcore porn all day. They never said anything and I only realized recently how weird that must have been. I'm not even sure my mom knows, but my friends have referred to me as the Gandalf of hentai, their weird nickname for me, in person at dinners before. So that's probably a red flag. Side note, feel free to PM me for some hentai. I got tons. This is my highest rated comment. Duck my life. Also no more hentai PMs. I got finals and a holiday break coming up soon, so I have to do that stuff. Not my kid, but my nephew. Knocked on his door to let him know I was bringing in his folded laundry. Waited a minute with no reply. Walked in to set the basket down and realized he didn't reply because he had his headphones in. There was a split second of eye contact, and I walked back out and started dinner. He gets to the kitchen for dinner later and starts stammering out some kind of excuse or apology, and I just threw my hand up. I don't care. You aren't in trouble. Sorry I didn't knock louder. Here's dinner. I've never seen someone look so relieved. My husband asked what that was all about and I just said, nothing important. I went to a Christian high school. One of my closest friends has a younger brother in junior high, who went on a church retreat. The camp counselor, who I went to high school with, thought it would be a good idea to tell a large group of preteens that he struggled with addiction to porn. This resulted in my friend's brother coming home to his mom asking, "Mom, what kind of drug is porn?" If I caught my kids watching porn, I probably wouldn't give her it as long as they weren't putting viruses on the computer. Whoa, look at that. That can't all be real, can it? I bet you they use icing or something. What's on the other tabs? Our computer was in my little brother's room. We had the desk and printer in there and everything. My mom needed to print something but the printer wasn't working, so she called me to help. The three of us, mom, bro and I, were all in the room as I tried to fix the printer. Turns out there was a paper jam, so as soon as I fixed the jam, all the printing jobs starting printing out. One by one, the first page starts printing out. and I immediately see it's a picture of a naked woman. My mom is starting to say what is that? But I quickly pulled it out of the printer before it could finish, crumpled it up, and threw it away. Wait, why did you do that? That was what I was printing. Mom, no, it wasn't. Seriously, you're driving me crazy. Can you just leave? I'll tell you when it's fixed. Seriously, please get out now. I acted really annoyed and pissed at my mom, who totally didn't deserve it, and then watched as the printer printed out page after page after page of the same naked woman. My 11-year-old brother apparently kept hitting print because the printer wasn't working, so it ended up printing about 30 pages total. I looked at my brother and just said, dude, don't ducking do that anymore. Thanks a lot. Years ago when iPods came out, we all used the same one in my house. I was checking the search history and found a search for Miley Cyrus naked. Of course this was when she was maybe 14. I showed my wife, who asked me if I did it. Thankfully my oldest son, who was maybe 9 at the time, admitted to typing the request. If he hadn't admitted to it, I believe my wife would have divorced me.